Welcome to the monthly Grateful Gratitude meeting. I'm Lola Roberts, the founder of Grateful Gratitude, and today is a very huge honor for me because my good friend, who actually happens to produce my podcast, Mark Friedman, has been through quite a walk, and I'm very honored because a couple times he let me interview him to kind of get some information out there because about almost a year ago, plus a few days, we were in the studio and we were recording podcasts. I had no idea he was sick as a dog. He wasn't coughing, he wasn't sneezing. He told me a little story that he'd been sick, and I kind of glossed over it because he looked okay to me. That was on a Friday. The following Wednesday happened to be my birthday, 3 o'clock. I got a text from Jan, and she said, "Have you heard anything about Mark?" And I thought, oh my gosh, he's been in a motorcycle wreck because he bought that stupid motorcycle. I told him not to get that motorcycle. Well, I kind of thought, you know what, that just doesn't feel like, I don't know. I pick up the phone and I call her, and she said, he's on life support. And I said, oh my gosh, we got to get people together. We got to pray. We have got to get to that hospital. And so by 5:30, we had a group of people from the chamber and friends of Mark who were standing outside the ICU window, so unsure about what was going on. And so Mark has been through quite a road to his recovery. And we're really going to get into the guts of this, and he's going to be very honest. And he's
the first time in my life. No.
And he's going to talk about it. I do want to say, if anybody was there that night when we were praying, I brought these hearts and these crosses and handed them out. And I just said, take these and pray for Mark, because it was so uncertain, Mark. We just didn't know. So I'm going to let you go ahead and go from there.
Okay, I'll skip to the end first and then come back. At the end, and a lot of y'all know this, but there were at least, from what I've been told, twice that they thought they lost me, that I was going to die, and another handful of times where there was a good chance. They didn't know whether I was going to, like one of the surgeries, they didn't know if I was going to survive or not. So we'll get into that afterwards, but I want to give you a little presentation about things leading up to the hospital stay, and I want to tell you a couple things beforehand. First of all, I'm going to thank and reference some individuals in here. And I know that when I name specific people, that automatically means I'm leaving people out. Don't look at it that way. The people, everyone in this room has been quite a part of this story. So I appreciate everyone in here. While I do mention some specifics in here, I don't want to leave anyone out. The other thing that's really weird, and I think we'll get into this afterwards, is I'm still getting memories back. So some of this stuff, to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure I'm right when I go through these slides. But this is basically what was happening behind the scenes as I was checking in to the hospital. So let's just go and get started. And right here. Like I said, there's some real big MVPs in the story, and the two of the biggest are Sil, who's here right now, and my dog RONA. And you guys, if you know me, you know how important they are in my life. And I think a lot of you may have known. I'm kind of surprised that you said I wasn't coughing, because a lot of you may have known that I was dealing with something, but really Sil is, I think, the only one who knew or had an idea of really what was really going on, because I would try not to admit that I was sick. I didn't want to go to any doctors, but I kind of let Sil know what was going on. I may have predicted my death day with her. There's some text messages that I actually had in this presentation between me and Sil that I had to edit out because Sil and I have a very kind of inappropriate sense of humor. This quote, y'all may have seen this, that if you're afraid to live life because you might die, then you've already died. I saw that quote at the beginning of COVID last year, and I thought, it's kind of the way without knowing it, it's kind of the way I live. There's no point in being scared. So we'll get into faith and all that after this, but just a little peek inside my mind, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of the way I lived. 2020 was going to be awesome. I think a lot of you probably had the same thoughts, that 2020 was going to be a great year. In February, I bought the motorcycle. The motorcycle was very important to me. I loved, and I still have the bike. I love the bike. Rode it as much as I could. And if you know me, I always looked at my life like I had the perfect life. I was in sports talk radio. I got paid to travel with the Cowboys. I don't feel like I've worked since I was like 23 years old. And I've always had a great life, but 2020 was going to be just really awesome. Another awesome thing in my life, coach Special Olympics basketball and golf. And these guys are just some of my basketball players, and they are so inspirational. All these guys, they were born with special needs through no fault of their own. These guys live every minute of their life outside of their comfort zone. And there's probably a better way to put it, but they have every reason to be bitter and to hate life and to say, why me? But it's exactly the opposite. They are the most grateful group of people you could ever come across. Stills kids practice basketball with them. And it was, once again, 2020 was awesome. It was great going to basketball practice and watching Stills little boys interact with my basketball players, and my basketball players interacting with them was awesome. I mean, everything was great. Here I am coaching, and by the way, this guy in the back, and first of all, I didn't always dress up like Pat Riley for a game. Okay, that game happened the same night as the gala, and this guy in the purple in the background is related to Jan, and I didn't know that until Jan pointed that out. And this little guy here, Kari, is one of my favorite basketball players. He's actually one of the best players on the team, and I definitely treat him a lot better than the other kids. This was an incredible night, the Special Olympics Gala. These are a couple of my basketball players, and one of the reasons this night was so special is they recognized me as the award winner for the Special Angels Among Us Community Award winner, which is just such an honor. It really was, and I was very proud of that. And once again, another great night. 2020 was going to be awesome. This night, I actually was supposed to make a speech. It was the same place in the Courtyard Hotel by the Event Center where we have the Chamber Gala. The room was full, and I was supposed to make a speech, but as soon as I got up there, my basketball players were in a table in the back, and they start chanting and yelling and stuff, so I couldn't make the speech. I'd prepared for it and everything. The other thing that, if you know me, I'm very passionate about first responders. And Paul Hernandez from the Chamber's here. And, the Chamber allowed me to create and purchase a sponsorship to honor First Responder of the Month. And I continue doing that, and just love doing that. Was very honored to be able to do that. And I keep going back to tell you 2020 is going to be so awesome. It also gives you kind of obviously I'm the one that did this presentation, so it makes me look a lot better than I really am. But I was doing all sorts of community stuff, and I care about the community. March 24th, I got RONA. RONA was a stray, okay? And I got RONA purely by happenstance, purely by accident. It was 5 days after the governor basically shut us down. RONA's sister had gotten hit by a car in Princeton. And the guy that hit her sister stopped to take care of her sister, and a truck, as he got out of his car, a big truck came and just T-boned the dog that he had just hit. And he looked over to the shoulder of the road, which Princeton doesn't have shoulders, so it really wasn't a shoulder, it was the side of the road. And RONA was just sitting there watching the whole thing. RONA, the next day I took her to the vet, and the vet said she's no more than 8 to 10 weeks old. So she was a puppy. The vet said that she was probably abandoned with the rest of her litter in the country that we know as Princeton, Texas. And by the way, I wrote this on the slide. One of those shoes is still missing. She's hidden a shoe in my little 800 square foot apartment. That was a year and a half ago. And she ate it. Yeah, Syl and I did she's done about $2,000 worth of damage to my apartment when she was a puppy. But she's the cutest dog, and there's something, I know we all overrate our dogs, and this is not my first dog, and I've had some great dogs, but there's just really something special about this dog. And I'm going to tell you this, I'm probably not going to cry because the first 2 times I went through this, I couldn't get past Syl slide without crying. But she's incredibly special. So I get RONA, everything's going to be great. I alluded to this before we started. Most of this presentation here, I went back through the last week, through my text messages and my pictures to try and piece things together. I thought my cough had started at the end of May. This picture was in March. And basically, I'd started to get a cough and I was worried about COVID. But there's no way in hell I'm going to the doctor. I'm just not going to go to the doctor. So I was starting to keep an eye on my temperature. Every morning I would take my temperature. And if you remember, the 2 big signs of COVID were a fever and you lose your sense of taste and smell. So I actually started, and I think I have another slide in here, I actually started smelling like bleach and stuff like that, just to make sure it wasn't COVID. But that was in March, okay? The other thing I started doing in March, and Jan knows this, because a lot of it was for the Christian Care Assisted Living Facility, is going around trying to find Kleenex and toilet paper and paper products for people who couldn't get out. If you remember, and it's not that long ago, I'm sure you do, but there are a lot of people that were compromised that couldn't leave. They were quarantined. So I was going out looking for toilet paper and all this stuff. So I started doing that. And if you remember how hard it was to find, I was traveling all over the place to look for this stuff to give to strangers. The other thing I did, and there's more to this story, I don't think this is the one you got for me, Syl, but I also, as I got more paranoid, I found an inhaler that I had because I did start having trouble breathing. Once again, not going to the doctor though. Not going to do it. I wish he was here right now. So here I am. After the fact, I know that basically I had double pneumonia when I was going through all this, but it wasn't going to stop me. I didn't know at the time I had double pneumonia. I just knew that I had a hard time breathing and I was coughing all the time. But I bought a bike. And I bought it from David Hardaway, believe it or not. And I thought, okay, and if y'all know David, I'm not talking behind his back. I thought this was a real good investment because how many times has David Hardaway ridden a bike? So I bought that bike and I started, and I think only had a chance to do it maybe 5 or 6 times, but riding the trails back here, which was great. And I'm coughing the entire time, but still not worried about COVID. Then, after consulting my doctor, Syl, the cough got worse, and instead of going to the doctor, I did what anyone would do. I bought a humidifier, okay? Because my doctor told me that's what she does with her kids when they start coughing. So I got the humidifier, and I got the top of the line Vicks. This is a Vicks humidifier that you can put little capsules in to make it smell like menthol or whatever. And I would put my face over it and just breathe it in for two reasons. A, I thought it'd make me better. And B, if I could smell it, I didn't have COVID. Continued riding the motorcycle, masking up, trying to find toilet paper, Kleenex, all sorts of things. This was, I don't think it was Ardmore, Oklahoma, but I went as far as Ardmore to find toilet paper and stuff. Princeton, that one's in there for sale, on the bike. So I continued doing that. And then the dumbest idea that I had was I started taking Syl's spin class. When COVID started, Syl and I worked to set up, she's a spin instructor, so we worked to set up a virtual spin studio in her apartment. And I was, I don't think I'm pulling the curtain too far back, Syl. Her computer wasn't strong enough for the video capability. So anytime she was doing a spin class, which was 4 times a week, I would drive over to her apartment. We'd set up my computer so that she could do the virtual spin class. And in the mornings, so I had to be over there. In the mornings, if her kids were there, I would play with her kids. But if her kids weren't there while she was doing the spin class, I'd be laying on the couch or laying in bed. In the afternoon, I'd go over there. And one time, she lives by the square in McKinney. While she's doing the spin class, I went to the pub on the square and logged on to the class. And while everyone's just working their butts off on the bikes, I'm drinking a Miller Lite at the bar on the class. But one morning, I was going to ride the motorcycle to get her set up. It's like 5 in the morning, and she'd gotten a new computer from her daughter, and she let me know she was okay, that I didn't really need to come over and set it up. So I rode the motorcycle back to my apartment, got on my workout clothes, and went downstairs in the fitness facility and did her damn spin class. And by this time, I did have a cough, and it was not good, but I continued doing, probably at least twice a week, her class. And by the way, later on in the hospital, after I woke up, my brother accused her of putting me in the hospital with her spin class. And this right here, Jason was there. I don't know if y'all knew this. Jason, sorry. This was a party for Jason Velo when we threw axes. And the reason I included this in here was it was a fun day and everything. I don't know if y'all knew this, but I was struggling really hard that day. And I was trying not to let you guys see it because, we threw the axes, and a couple times I left the room to just cough up a lung. And then we went to Snuffers in Richardson, and I think I was one of the last ones to get there, but I really was one of the first ones to get there. And I stayed in my truck just dying, coughing, before I would get out. So I didn't know if anyone here knew that I was struggling that bad, but I was struggling. And this was I think this may have been April. It wasn't really right before I checked in. But anyways, once again, Syl was really the only one, I think, if my memory's correct, that kind of knew more of what was going on with me behind the scenes. The other thing that I would do, and I wish Eric was here, Eric Hoyle and I were playing golf, and I played golf with Jan a couple times. We were probably playing golf 3 or 4 times a week. And I remember their rule was that we would walk the course as long as the temperature when we teed off was less than 91 or 94. And so even if the temperature was going to be over 100 by the time we got to the 9th hole, we would walk. So I'm walking golf courses and I'm hacking up a lung. And this dude was awesome. This was at Oak Hollow, and this is a guy that we partnered up with, and he was like Lee Trevino. He was just living life. He was 72 years old. He actually knew someone related to you, Paul, that worked for Encore. or he worked for Encore or something, but he knew who you were. But Eric and I and Denise, I'm walking golf courses 3 or 4 times a week, just by knocking with the doctor. I could smell the grass, so it was okay. The other thing that I'm so thankful for Jan, because, and y'all may or may not know, and I don't want to pat myself on the back. It's not about patting myself on the back, but I really, really get pleasure out of helping others. And I was trying to help as many people as I could. Jan gave me the opportunity, Christian Care. We were painting stained glass windows and stuff like that. Jan, you just told me that they just cleaned these windows. So that lasted for over a year. Wow. This is a little sing-along concert that they did that I got to be a little bit of a part of, even if it was just taking pictures, because I wasn't going to sing. I'd go to the doctor before I was going to sing. Now here's where it gets serious, okay? And like I said, I had to take out some of the text messages between me and Sil. But this is the type of relationship that she and I have, and this is kind of how stubborn I was, because at a certain point, she started getting kind of tough with me about going to the doctor and everything, and I would always change the subject. So like this text message is just an example of, and this is like 2 days before I checked in to the hospital. She says, "How's the cough?" I said, "It comes and goes. Right now it's gone. How's the car?" Because she was having car problems. So I tried to change the subject as quickly as I could, because I didn't want to talk about it. I cared more about her car. I cared more about her problems. And it was 2 things. I seriously cared about her problems, but I didn't want to talk about mine. Here's another text message. And this is one where I was pretty honest with her. She had sent me another text about, "How are you feeling?" And I said, "I'm definitely not complaining, but you're not going to believe this. I was coughing. My coughing attacks would last at this point 45 minutes to an hour. And they were violent coughing attacks. They were not just, I was hacking, and I was coughing so hard that night I pinched a nerve or something in my back. And it was very, very painful. But you can see I said, "But I'll be okay until I'm not," which was kind of foreshadowing, because I knew something was really wrong, but I still was not going to go to the doctor. And here's another example of me changing the subject. She asked how I'm feeling, and I didn't even answer. I said, "Tell me more about your great day," because she'd sent me a text saying she had a great day, and this is where she gets a little tough. "Only after you tell me how you're feeling." I said, "I'm good. Please tell me more about you. Please tell me more about your day." Once again, I didn't want to talk about me, and I did want to know about your day. So anyways, this is where it gets really weird, because I don't remember any of this. This is the day I checked myself in. The morning of the day that I checked myself in. And the only reason I know all this happened is because, and we'll get into this when we start talking, once I got out of the hospital, once I got out of ICU, I started to try and retrace my steps through my phone. And I don't remember anything, any of these messages, okay? But when you look at it, the sleuth in me, it's really weird. I wake up without an alarm every morning by 5:30 at the latest. At this point, also, I know that she's really worried about me. And we had a very, I started as a joke. She made it real sensitive. She may not even realize this. But we had a conversation earlier in the summer where I was telling her, "You know what? I live alone now. I wonder how long it's going to take for them to find my dead body in my apartment. If I were to die in the middle of the night, how long am I going to sit there, and how long will RONA go without food?" And she she may not realize this, but she said something really sweet. She said, we text every day. We text every 3 hours. If I text you and you don't respond, I'm sending out a search party. So by this point, I'm responding to her text messages pretty quickly because I know she's worried. So she sends me a text at 7:42. I don't remember this. I'm usually awake at 5:30 the latest. 2 things here. I didn't respond for an hour, which was odd. And I responded well after 5:30. I responded closer to 9 in the morning. And my response was, I'm good. I'll text you when I wake up, meaning I'm still in bed. That never happens. That never happens, but I was still in bed. I was still asleep. Don't remember this text exchange. Then the next message I send her, I don't remember any of this. I tell her I've got an 11 a.m. telemed appointment with my doctor. It was a pretty bad day/night yesterday, but you never told me about your great day. And a couple things about that text message. I don't know what doctor I was referring to. I don't know what doctor I called. I don't remember a telemedicine call. I know that I had one, but I don't remember any of this. Okay? Her response, as you can see, is, Frito, go to the effing doctor. Look at what you're making me do. I'm yelling at you now. So, evidently, that telemedicine call led to, I guess, that doctor telling me, go get a COVID test. And I don't remember getting a COVID test. The only reason I know I got a COVID test was I found this picture in my phone. Okay? And I guarantee you that even though I don't remember it, the only reason I took that picture is because I knew she wouldn't believe that I really got a COVID test. So I took the picture to prove that, yeah, I went and got a COVID test. I do remember this. Oh, well, let me tell you about I took a text message out that Syl and I had. The next text message I sent her is not for public consumption because it's politically incorrect and inappropriate on her part, not mine. But I sent her a message saying, just got the COVID test results back. I'll tell you what I said. I said, I tested negative. I don't got the Kung flu. And she responded back inappropriately. I won't tell you what she said, but it was funny. She said, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. And I responded back saying, they want me to get chest x-rays, but they better do something quick because I can't breathe. Okay? Once again, I don't remember that text exchange, but evidently, I do remember this. After that text exchange, before I got the chest x-rays, I drove to the ER. I drove myself to the ER, parked my truck. I do remember this. I walked into the first, if you've been to the ER over here, there's 2 sets of double doors. In the first set, you walk in, and they had a desk there where they asked you COVID questions because they weren't letting anyone in. They took my temperature. I told them I just got COVID test negative. They let me in. And when I walked in, I do remember this. I literally walked in, I'm coughing, and there was a person checking in front of me, and I just took my wallet and I threw it on the desk like that and said, all my information's in there. I've got to sit down. It's the last thing I remember. The very last thing I remember is throwing my wallet in a very rude type fashion to the probably volunteer that's checking people in, because I just couldn't go any further. Couldn't at all. I don't remember anything after that. The next thing I remember, and here are 2 more MVPs. The next thing I remember is waking up from a drug-induced coma in a different hospital. I didn't know at the time, but close to 5.5 to 6 weeks later. My brother was in the room, and these are two more MVPs. This is my brother Joel, we're twins, his wife Kellen. Joel's in the room when I wake up, and it's really weird. I'm still getting memories back of things that happened in the hospital. And as a matter of fact, I called Joel the other day because I wanted to know if he was listening to sports talk radio when he was in my hospital room, because I remembered just the other day a very real dream that I had woken up in a hospital bed in doing a radio remote. Like I was on the air. If y'all don't know, I was in sports talk radio for a long time. That was my career. And I actually had a very vivid dream while I was in the hospital that came back to me the other day, that I was doing a radio remote on the ticket from my hospital bed. And so in my effort to kind of piece things together, I called Joel to see if he was ever listening. But these two were fantastic. I didn't find out how fantastic Kellen was until well into my hospital stay. But basically, during COVID, they only allowed one visitor. And once that visitor came, that's the only visitor you could have the entire hospital stay. So, unfortunately for both of us, Joel was the first one in the room, so he was my registered visitor. So he would come in and stay in the room even when I was, intubated? Is that the word? Mm-hmm. And incubated. But so he stuck around and he worked and stuff. But Kellen, who I think still got to know Kellen a little bit. Kellen's a busybody, and Kellen, in a good way, has her nose in everyone's business. And Kellen is a internet sleuth, and she was online. The doctors would tell Joel what was going on. Joel would relate to Kellen because, quite frankly, and this isn't a shot, he didn't care that much. He didn't want to know the details, and neither did I. I'll tell you more about that later. But so Joel's telling Kellen what the doctor said, and Kellen's online searching everything, telling Joel what questions to ask. And it was a real good teamwork. She had the idea, because quite frankly, she got tired of people calling Joel to get my status updates. She had the idea to set up a Facebook page that I'm sure a lot of you were on, which I appreciate too, by the way, where Joel could update every day what was going on. And I'm going to tell you this, he completely violated my HIPAA rights. None of you should ever know what my liver numbers are, okay? But it was a great idea. This too, right here, this slide, I felt the support from everyone. I got this picture, the story in this. How much time do we have? Okay. I'll tell you this in a second, but keep this picture in mind, okay? I felt all of your support. It was really great. This, and I'm sorry, Sil, I'm outing you here. This, it's one of the sweetest text messages I've ever gotten. You're crying before I am. I see it. So Sil, I put her in a very bad position. I don't remember this. Evidently, when I checked myself in, I made her my emergency contact or something. She didn't know anyone in my family. She got possession of all my stuff, and I really put her in a hard position, and I apologize to you for that. But as we'll talk about, once I woke up in the hospital, I didn't want to talk to anyone about what had happened. When the doctors would try and come in and say, here's what happened to you, I didn't care. I didn't want to know. I wanted to know what's going to happen from this minute on. Okay, so I was not looking back. I didn't get this text message. I didn't read it until probably November. Okay? This text message was sent in August. and it's from Sil. And I don't know if y'all can probably read it, but it's been 8 days since I talked to you. The last thing we said to each other was, I love you. I miss you so very much, Mark. Every day there's a, blah, 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 blah. It's great. Sweet text message. But then the PS is what gets me is, by the way, I'm sending this to you even though I have your phone. So, yeah, very sweet. This right here is the only picture I'm ever going to show anyone of me in the hospital. I didn't want any visitors. To this day, I am very thankful, and this is grateful gratitude. I'm very grateful this happened during COVID because I was very limited. I'll tell you all now, they did change the visitor policy well into my hospital stay, but when I got there, they were only letting one person, and I wouldn't want to see anyone because of the condition I was in. I wouldn't want you to see me in that condition. This picture right here, I actually posed for this picture. See how bad I look? I actually brushed my hair, okay? You can see that green thing that's above the S. Do any of y'all know what that is? That is like a puke bag, okay? And that's the best picture I could take. I mean, the hospital was rough. And I'll tell you guys, I'm not even scratching the surface at how rough it was, and I don't want you to know how rough it was. She may drag it out of me here in a second, but it was very rough. So that's the only picture you're going to see of me in the hospital. Another absolute angel. This lady right here is named Alisha. A lot of you I've told about Alisha. Alisha was a speech therapist. Her job was, once I woke up, to teach me how to swallow. I had to learn pretty much how to do everything again. This woman right here, I just can't even begin to tell you how awesome she is. I know I would have made it without her, but I mean, she's awesome. She only took her a couple days to teach me how to swallow, but she struck up a relationship with me, a very personal relationship. She kept me on her roster of patients, even though I didn't need to be, for my entire hospital stay. And that way she could come in and we would talk for hours. And I talked to her yesterday on the phone. And she's just, I'm glad she's not here right now, to be honest with you, because she's awesome. This is the last picture. This was really the first real milestone. Once I got out, the lady that was taking care of RONA is very special too. She'd never met me. Oh, she met me once. I take that back. She is the mother of my nephew's girlfriend. Okay, and she took RONA on, and by the time RONA finished her stay at Lydia's house, RONA had been with Lydia longer than she'd been with me. And this was in January, the first time I saw RONA. And it was a very great night. You can see my stupid walker is right there, which I got rid of as quickly as I could. As a matter of fact, Jan got to witness this. I was very stubborn with that walker. And I don't know, I'd been out for like a week, maybe 2 weeks. Jan and I went to lunch together at that same Snuffers that we went to. And I decided to try and walk on my own without the walker. And I got in okay, but as we're walking out, I fell flat on my head in the parking lot. And she did a great job because A, it was embarrassing, B, it was painful. I hit my hand and I landed on the back of my head. It could have been really bad. It could have been really bad, and she ignored the whole thing. I mean, she didn't, when I say ignored the whole thing, she didn't make a big deal about it or anything like that. And she knew, I think she knew, that I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was thankful that I didn't crack my skull open. And but she handled it as perfectly as she could because she knew I didn't want to dwell on it. So thank you for that. But yeah, that walker. Anyways, okay, so that's the presentation. And I didn't really cry, did I?
No, you did pretty good.
You did. I just have a runny nose. It's a cold.
So I personally knew he would run way over the amount of time he had, and we would not get to these questions because I have my own questions.
I prepared for those.
I know. That's why I'm going to do other ones because Mark has a real difficult time understanding how much we all care about him. When I tried talking to him the first time we were together to start telling his story, I said to him, do you know about Miracles for Mark, that we were all, speaking through the phones, with the updates and everything, and he shook his head, and I said, do you realize that we stood in prayer for you at 6 o'clock for over 30 days? Do you realize the ticket is talking about you and praying for you on the radio? Do you realize at Prestonwood Baptist Church, thousands of people are praying for you? And you know what his response was? I don't need it. Other people need it more than me.
That's true.
I know, but we're done praying for you, buddy. No. But the thing that I thought was so important is Mark was always doing for everybody else. He put everything on hold to go be for someone else. And I thought it was so important for him to know that we wanted to put everything on hold for him. We wanted to hear what was happening. We didn't care about his HIPAA. But I remember...
No joke.
I remember when Joel started posting sports analogies, correlating his health. I don't know anything about sports, but it made me feel good because I thought there's some lighthearted levity. He must really be getting better. And one morning I was sitting at my desk and my phone rang and it said Mark Friedman. And I thought, I just had the weirdest feel. I'm like, okay, so I answered it.
He's calling me from heaven.
Well, I hear, hello, it's Mark. Like I wouldn't know that anyway, but I thought, I need to be quiet. He can barely talk. And then I thought, is he calling me because he's going to die? Is he calling me because this is he's saying goodbye to people? Because I knew he'd call a few other people. And he said, I want to tell you, now this man's laying in a hospital bed just out of being intubated, barely talking, barely beginning to eat. And he said, I want to tell you that I have been reliving our gratitude podcast in my head. And I've been emphasizing that over and over. And I want you to know how important those are to me. And I sat there and I thought, now how in the world am I ever going to tell him what that phone call meant to me? He could call anyone in the world. And he told me, he said, I'm calling you because I can't text. My fingers don't really work to text. And I thought, God blessed us with a very special man. And we all need to make him understand how special he is. So he's told me a couple little things if we have time. One thing I really want him to talk about is his faith. And how his faith and never leaving his faith got you through a lot of this. I'm learning more and more about this the further I get out, because like I said, I don't like looking back. This has forced me to look back, which is probably pretty good for me. But as bad as the hospital was, especially when I was in ICU after I woke up, and I'll tell the truth, it got to the point where I was sick and tired of being in the hospital. But when I woke up, I always, and this isn't patting myself on the back because it wasn't me, I was very fortunate. I had a real good attitude. And that's one of the reasons I think that the nurses all really liked me. Because in ICU, I was probably one of the few patients that could talk to them, quite frankly. But I also had a very good attitude. I didn't really get down that much until the end when, like I said, I've seen every episode of Friends, of the George Lopez show. But
That's through faith and gratitude. I found things to be thankful for. I knew that I was going to recover, but even more importantly, and this sounds morbid, but I knew that if I didn't recover, I was going to be okay. Through faith. I knew I was going to be okay. And there were, like I said, there were probably half a dozen times where they didn't know whether I was going to live or not. And I don't know if you can get to it, but one of the times they didn't know whether I was going to live was I'd gotten a surgery, and I think it was just a gallbladder surgery, and I was coming out as the anesthetic, and in my room, and there were no less than 6 to this day. I don't know if they were doctors. They were all men. They're all in scrubs. They're surrounding my bed. 4 of them were around my bed. One was at the computer documenting everything that was going on, and one was by the where the vitals are, the screens, the monitors, and they were flipping out. I mean, flipping out, screaming at each other. If we don't figure this out, we're going to lose him. We're going to lose him. And they were giving me blood transfusion after blood transfusion, and they're talking about how they're going to lose me and I'm going to die. And I'm sitting there with the trach in, and I can't talk, but I'm like, it was kind of humorous to me because I wasn't scared of dying. And that's the faith part. But I'm like, guys, I'm right here. I can hear you. I can hear everything you're saying. And they're cussing, and they were flipping out. But that's where the faith, I think, really came in, that I'm either going to live or I'm going to die. And either way, I'm good. And I had a tremendous faith that I didn't even think about questioning the faith at all. And I think that got me through a whole lot.
Yeah, I think another time you told me too, I call it your ugly moment with your physical therapist. And I want you to tell them that story because...
Let me tell you what, nurses and physical therapists, I don't know how they do their jobs, because evidently I was an all-star in their minds. They loved me. I treated them so poorly sometimes. I mean, there was one nurse and she deserved it. She got the double bird from me because I couldn't talk. And what she was doing to me, and she did deserve it. Trust me. But anyways, it was actually, once I got out of the hospital, they transferred me to a rehab facility, physical therapy rehab. And the occupational therapist came in, and I hope y'all know how determined I am and was with this. The occupational therapist came in with a big shoehorn, like that long-ass shoehorn, a grabber thing, and this long stick that had a hook on it. And I knew exactly what they were. And I looked at her, and I said, and I was a jerk, and this lady was a great lady, Samantha. I said, get that S out of my room right now. I don't want to see any of that S. And I used the word, and I was violent. And she actually handed it to me. And at one point, I took all 3 of those tools, and I threw them as far as I could across the room. And I'm trying to hit that corner over there, and they may have gotten as far as that camera. I'm like, get them away from me. And I looked at her and said, your job is not to teach me to be handicapped. Okay, your job is to teach me to be independent. And she very calmly, I was a jerk. I was a real I was a jerk. And she looked at me and she very calmly said, you need to change your attitude. She said, those tools are what's going to keep you from having to call someone. Oh, the other thing was a big tube to put your socks on. Okay? And she said, these tools are what's going to keep you from having to call someone to help you get dressed every morning. And you need to change your attitude. And I looked at her and I said, look, I'm here for at least another 2 or 3 weeks. Let's see how far along I come. And then if the day before I leave, I can't do this stuff, I'll learn how to use those tools. Until then, I don't want to look at them. I don't want to see them. And I was a complete jerk to her. But she was very calm and very friendly. And I think every day after that, and she took him out of my room for the most part. I think something stayed in there and I didn't like that. But I probably apologized to her close to every day for that. And then when it got closer to me getting out, they drove me to my apartment to do a home assessment to see what kind of modifications I was going to have to make. Same lady, Samantha, like make to my bathroom and stuff, like a shower chair. And I told her straight out, I'm not getting one of those old man toilets. And, on and on and on. And I actually told her, she came back into my room, and I told her, I said, look, I'm not doing anything to my bathroom. I'm not modifying any of it. And she said, Mark, you need to. And I said, I've got a plan. And my plan was, I said, I'm just not going to use my bathroom in my apartment. And with that? Yeah. I thought you were going to say too much information. But I said, my apartment complex has a handicapped bathroom on the first floor. So I'll just go down to the first floor. And she looked at me and she said, that's the dumbest effing idea I've ever had. Go ahead, sorry.
Okay, so I know we could do this for 2 hours, but the last question I want you to
Last question, I'm having fun.
The last thing I want you to talk about.
Okay.
So the people that took this walk with you and that care about you and love you and they're here today and they continue to pray for you, what is the one thing you want them to know about this journey and what it's taught you?
Man. Taught me a lot about myself. But it's also reaffirmed something I truly believe. And y'all know, I think everyone in this room feels the same way. The more I focused on others, the better off I was. I think that helped me too. That phone call to you, there was a moment, I don't know if you remember, but when I was in the hospital, reaching out to others helped me along, helped me. It may have helped them as well, but Sil and David just walked into. Man, you should have heard everything I said about you before you walked in. Shouldn't have been late, but
shocking, Garcia.
they were going. They were going through some stuff with their family and their mom, and I knew Sil was going through a whole lot emotionally, and I'm in the hospital. I called it on my deathbed, and one morning I knew she was doing a spin class on Zoom, and I'd gotten my phone back, and I logged on to her spin class, and I made sure that I was going to be the first one there because I wanted to see her and let her know I was thinking about her. And when she got on, she's on her bike, and I remember this vividly. You were standing up. I think you were leaning over to turn everything on. And she saw me. She saw that I was on that Zoom call. And if you could have seen her reaction, she just kind of collapsed on the bike, very emotionally. And that really made me feel real good. And just, if you're doing things for others, it's really going to help you out.
For sure.
So.
Well, thank you guys all for coming. It's been a crazy year for Mark and for all of us with the pandemic, and together praying for each other and standing in faith together is what gets us through. So God bless all of you, and thank you so much for coming.